it's Melanie of Art Studio 320. It's time again for another project. These weeks are just flying by. All right, this is my project this week. It's a dresser. It's called a Legacy, and my neighbor gave it to me, and he said that it was from Macy's. So I'm assuming that is true. It has two small drawers on the top, and they seem to be solid wood, so I'm going to think that those are, and the drawers are pretty heavy, so I'm going to say that those are wood as well. I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to use this beautiful color. It's called Talley Green by Melange. Isn't that pretty? And I'm going to probably paint the top with that. I'm not sure. For the body of the piece, I'm going to paint in the Talley Green. And then I'm going to stain the drawers. I'm going to stain them in a gradation, either from dark to light or light to dark. I haven't decided. There's a few spots that need some repair, especially on the top. There's some real nasty stuff on the top. So I'm going to have to go slow, clean it, because last week's project I forgot. I'm going to clean it, take the hardware off, not in that order, the other way around. And yeah, we're off to the races. If you haven't subscribed yet, please take a moment and press that red button. You'll be helping me out so much. You can also follow me on Instagram, and the link for that will be in the description box below, along with all of the materials that I used this week. And you can also purchase any of my past projects on Etsy, unless it's been sold. I will put the link for my Etsy shop in the description box below as well. It's Art Studio 320 by Melanie Wiesa. Stick around. This week I am using Simple Green to clean off my piece, but I'm also using Goo Gone. It's here. You may miss it because it's on time lapse, but there was a spot on the top that you saw right in the beginning that was denim. There, I put Goo Gone on that to scrape it off. It came right off, so remember that one. The next up is Citrus Strip, which is a stripper, and I always put saran wrap over the citrus strip and let it sit. It came off pretty easily. My original idea was to stain the top, and of course you want to neutralize when you're finished with the mineral spirits to stop the process, the chemical process. It looked pretty nice there. Along with the microfiber cloth you see here, I'm also vacuuming out the drawers and the inside. There's always lots of dust and hair and fur and all that kind of stuff. Since I wasn't sure if I was dealing with wood, I needed to go slow, so I started with a 120 grit. Good morning, everyone. It is Friday, and I did a little stripping last night. I put citrus strip on all of the drawers except the two top ones. I decided that I would paint them. I'm going to scrape them right now. I thought I would put the stripper on last night and then let it sit overnight for a change, and hopefully it'll come off a little easier. I bought a different scraper. It's still plastic. You need to use a plastic scraper when you're stripping because you don't want to damage the wood. It's satisfying to scrape all that stuff off, but it's gross and it's messy, and somewhat toxic. It is possible that this wood's not going to look great after I strip it, and I'll end up painting anyway. I hope that's not the case, but I gotta try. You don't really know what the outcome's going to be. You have a plan in your head, but you have to be flexible according to your piece. Every piece has a personality. Let's get to work. It's time to go. Okay, so the reason I stopped sanding the drawers and started stripping was because it wasn't working. I needed to use something a little stronger. Now there's always dings and scratches and things like that, so I'm using my plastic Wood-X to get rid of that. And then I can sand. And as I sanded, I realized I needed to stop. That wasn't going to work. So now I'm experimenting with the Talley Green and mixing a little Knapsack Khaki with it to see what kind of tints I can come up with for the same idea as I had with the stain, but now I'm going to be using paint. All right, my YouTube friends, it is Saturday and things have drastically changed for this project. You have watched me strip the drawers, the top. That took a lot of time. I always learn something through that process. I don't like working with toxic materials. Not that I mind mess, but this is a toxic mess. Disposal of that toxic mess is a mess and stresses me out. I got through the whole process and I discovered I was dealing with MDF, which is medium density fiber board. When I was sanding the top, it gets gray, and that is compressed fibers created into a board. It is not wood, and if you get it wet and mess with it, it just turns kind of pulpy. It's not something you can stain, and you can paint it, but I needed to stop before it got worse. I was so certain that this was wood. Looks can be deceiving, haha. I think I will whitewash it. Some of the grain will come through, but it will cover all the blemishes in the veneer. I believe that the whole thing is a veneer. It's hard to tell, it really is. Yeah, it's not what you would think at all. But underneath is MDF, so we know that. I know that for certain. The bottom drawer will be the Talley Green. The next drawer up will have a little bit of Knapsack Khaki mixed with the Talley Green. And then the small drawers at the top will have a little bit more Knapsack Khaki mixed with the Talley Green. So I'm going to paint the whole body of the dresser in the Talley Green. Now, something's really cool about this dresser. It has a frame around the drawers. I am going to accent that frame with the Knapsack Khaki, and I'm going to use a little bit of this. Once again, redesign with Prima comes through for me. Wildflowers, Botanical Paradise it's called. And I like these a lot. I'm going to create what I hope will be a little kind of a garden growing up at the bottom. Stick around. Okay, you'll notice that I'm wearing my respirator, and I have two different kinds of filters. The round ones are for dust, so it's important that I wear it now when I'm sanding the plastic Wood-X because it has silica sand in it. And the other is for vapors, and that's important for the stripper I was using. So you need to make sure you're wearing the right one for the task that you're doing. So check it out. You can find lots of videos about what mask to wear. Important, guys, really important. Save your lungs, save your life. Hey everyone, it's Sunday. And I got quite a bit done yesterday. I got a lot of the painting done, at least on the body and the bottom drawers. And today I'm going to make those other two colors, tints actually, two tints of the Talley Green. So the middle drawers will be just a little bit lighter than the bottom drawer, and the top drawers will be a little bit lighter than the middle drawer. Maybe I will even work on the top. We'll see. You know what's coming. Let's get to work. You gotta check out this lavender tape by 3M. It's for areas that you've just painted. It works so well. And I'm doing it here because I'm painting the frame with the Knapsack Khaki. These are the top drawers where I found a few little nicks and dings that I had to fix real quick. Now I'm using the lavender tape again to tape off the center of the drawers because I'm going to be using 2 different tints of the Talley Green. Just touching up some areas as usual. Now I am going to show you how to mix those tints. So I'm going to start with a little bit of Talley Green. Now watch, I'm not dumping a bunch of the Knapsack Khaki in. I'm just doing a little bit, and that's how you do it, a little bit at a time. And you got to be sure that you stir it up really, really well. You don't want streaks. You don't want any kind of a tie-dye thing going on, unless that's what you're going for. Now I'm going to do a little bit more. And as I go, I'm kind of eyeballing it, and then I'm also checking it against my paint stick. And I'm not trying to match it. I'm just trying to look at the Talley Green, the original, and to see how much more, how much lighter it's getting. I don't want it too light, and I don't want it too close. So then you have to decide, okay, dark to light. I'm going from dark to the bottom, on the bottom, and light to the top. So you got to make sure you paint the right place on the drawers. You'd be surprised how easily it is to forget what you're doing. So I'm doing the bottom, the dark green, and then this color, which is a little bit lighter, and then the second part of this drawer, I'm going to add a little bit more Knapsack Khaki. I'm adding a second coat here. Now I'm moving on to the next tint. So I'm having to add some more Talley Green because I'm getting low and I want to make sure I have enough to paint both drawers for 2 coats. So I start all over. Now notice the brush I have in my hand. That's my wedge brush. Now look, that's a lot of paint, and that's the paint from the last tint. So you want to be sure that you're not using that brush again before you wash it. Now see, I'm checking it again, make sure it's light enough, and it wasn't, so I added a little more Knapsack Khaki. Now check this out when I start to look at my brush. It's clean. Okay, for some reason I don't have video for the lightest color I made, the lightest tint. See, even I get confused. You notice, once again, I always say this, that once something's painted, that's when you really notice the blemishes, and it's really up to you. You decide whether it's important to fix it or not, but you can. Okay, now I'm using the Knapsack Khaki and I've added water. And once again, when you're mixing anything, a little bit at a time. So a little bit of water, a little bit of paint, and kind of get the consistency you're going for. Whether you want it to be more transparent, more wood grain coming through, or if you want it to be more opaque, meaning less wood grain coming through. At any rate, there's a lot of different ways to do a whitewash. Okay, you'll notice that I have a cloth. I wiped it off going with the wood grain, and then I put more paint on, and then I went again. That's really, again, up to you how much you want to do. Now here I'm doing it on the edges because there were a lot of blemishes there. Hello my friends, it is Monday and I am anxious to put the drawers back in the dresser. I let them dry overnight. They are a little tough to get in, so I wanted to make sure that the paint was dry enough that it wasn't going to do too much damage, hopefully none at all. So I changed my plan a little bit, as you saw, and that's why I'm so anxious to put in the drawers. I did line them up together to see what the gradation of the color looked like. Mixing colors is something I love to do. In my head, I decided what's the best way to do this so I don't waste any paint and I have enough paint for the whole project. What I should have done once I got the color that I liked, I had enough. I should have saved what I had instead of adding to that for the next color, the next tint, I should say. Check out one of my videos on tints and shades. When it's a tint, you're adding white, and when it's a shade, you're adding black. I'm using Knapsack Khaki for my tint. It's a neutral. Check out my video on tints and shades. It's a very short video. Instead of just adding to my color, which was fine, except I should have taken out a little bit for repairs, but I learned something valuable and I can pass that on to you. When you're mixing colors, make sure that when you've mixed the color that you save enough. Obviously, I didn't do that and I had to go back because there were a couple spots that I missed. Thankfully, it is one of my strengths, mixing paints. When you're mixing paint, you start out small. Mixing colors can be dicey if you don't do it correctly. Watch my video on tints and shades. One more thing, I had a lot of little touch-ups yesterday and I didn't film everything, but suffice it to say, I think I got rid of most of the little dings, not everything, but don't worry if you paint your piece and you find a spot that needs to be repaired, stop everything, sand it back just a little, and then put on your wood filler and let it dry, sand it again, and then paint over it. You can do it, it'll look beautiful. Don't hesitate and don't just, oh darn, it's too late, because it's never too late. You can always fix it. That's my little tip for the day. Let's get to work. All right, I have a finishing pad that I'm using here, and I can't tell you enough how important it is to get these finishing pads, and there'll be a link in the description box for you to purchase them. You have to use them at every stage, after every layer of paint, and even when you're finished with your top coat, in between the top coats. Just a good tip. All right, you'll notice that I'm painting that strip in the middle after all that, and the reason is when I put the drawers back in, look at that, it looks so much better. Okay, the tape on the top, I had a lot of splotches from the whitewash on the top, so I just had to tape off the top so I could repaint underneath, that's all. Just wanted to let you know that's what I was doing. Now here, I'm laying out all the transfers, and you'll notice I'm taping them, then taking them off, retaping them, moving them around. Once again, just like in the last video with the roses, you have to take your time and create a composition. You'll see that I have bunches together. They don't come like that. I cut them all individually, and then I moved them around and I realized, okay, they look way better when they're layered, so you can layer them. And they look much more natural when you layer them instead of little sticks lined up like soldiers across the bottom. That wouldn't look good. You want balance, and again, balance in composition is very important, and it doesn't mean symmetrical, like the same and the same on each side. It means balance. Something you guys need to look up on YouTube if you don't understand what I'm talking about. And that's okay, because composition and balance is not something you normally learn in school unless you took a lot of art classes. So no worries there. I'm a former art teacher. I'm still an art teacher. All right, so you can see as I'm filling in, it's starting to look a little bit better and a little bit better. I have to admit, when I first started, I wasn't sure. Okay, one more thing. I found out the very first flower I put down, I had a problem. It wasn't adhering. It's because I had put some simple green on there. So you have to make sure it's nice and clean with some clear water. Okay, here's my nemesis, that dang top coat. You gotta stir it, stir it, stir it. You gotta get all the gunk off the bottom because otherwise you'll have areas that are shiny and other areas that are flat. It's a weird thing. Gotta stir it up. I love this gun. See it? It's so easy to snap into place. I'm showing you the setting. It's at 3.5. I found that that was a good setting. It wasn't too strong when it came out. Now I'm wiping down the whole piece with a tack cloth. And again, little repairs, little spots that I needed to touch up. And here we go. Okay, I'm going to lay it all out for you. Top coat, man, top coat. So I thought that it would be easier to do half of the front of the dresser at a time, but watch. I'm overlapping, and look at the center. Now watch. Look right there. See that cloudy area? That means there's too much on at once. And here I go. I can't not touch it. It's better not to, but I didn't want it to drip. So I just went ahead with a brush. It was all fine. I sanded it with a finishing pad and it was all good. I put 2 layers of the top coat. Now here I'm spraying the hardware because it just came in the mail. I used 3 different colors and I'll put those in the description box below as well. The champagne mist is my favorite, but it was a little too silvery. I wanted it to be more gold. Ta-da! It's hardware time. And that means that we are almost finished. Look at that. You know, I had this idea in my mind. I really, really wanted to do 3 different colors of stain, but I'm in love with this piece. I love the color. I think it turned out really nice. Yay! What a journey. Woo! Well, friends, that's all I have for you this week. This project, it's not at all what I thought it was going to be. It has some of the same elements. I used the gradation idea, but I changed it from the stain to paint. This is a sample of one of my custom colors that I made. This is all I'm saving. It says top drawers, these 2. That's an example of what you need to save. If you need more, if you think you're going to need more, save more. But this is also good to give to customers. It's a nice little touch. Thanks for being here. See you next time for another project. Oh, and stick around for the after pictures. That's always fun.
Saying how they make you feel so small.